It's like the fourth wall when they say like you don't break the fourth wall. We're the ones who are studying the stories. And so what are we taking? Like we're looking at the full scope of things, like all these people are sinning, but the idea is that we're looking into the mindset of an Isaiah and saying like, okay, what can we learn from what he did and experienced? And that's why I was like, that's what I just had that moment. That's why I'm taking you here, because I'm like, oh, this just blew my mind. But it's like, even when I think back, and I'll just go back to Moses because I know a lot more about Moses than I do about Isaiah. Looking at his story about how he was, he murdered somebody. Like about how definitely imposter syndrome with him in a number of ways. First of all, he was Hebrew and he was with the Egyptians. So I'm sure he dealt with this, a fair bit of racism in his younger days, maybe even beyond. And then just when he was called with the burning bush and he was like, whoa, not me. Obviously, like I can't speak that well. So it's like this imposter syndrome, right? So, but are we to look at the circumstance and sort of like judge Moses in the circumstance, or are we to look at it and learn by example? Right. And that's the thing that I'm kind of like getting right now. It's like, oh, we're supposed to learn by example. Like, okay, this is the mindset that it's most natural to have. And even my most blessed and anointed servants have been susceptible to this natural way of thinking. But I'm calling you to look at this and see if would you make this choice or would you make that choice? It's like, the judgment is really for ourselves individually. And God will judge the rest of everybody else. But it's like for us to sort of like, it's interesting because it's like you really are supposed to use the word on yourself. You can't really necessarily, unless, in your family, sure. But you can't necessarily control everybody else. All you can do is control your own actions. So it's like looking at the story, that's just kind of like a fun moment for me to just realize that like, oh, we're looking at what, not necessarily like what's right and wrong, but we're looking at how easy it is to be like this. And then we have the choice to make to say, okay, how do you think that works? Right. Because after reading the story, of course, we've not gotten through Isaiah yet. So, and Rose, I'm going to get to your question too, but my grandmother's favorite verse was Isaiah 41:10. Okay. Found it. Shout out to you, Grandma. Rest in peace.
Shout out.
Yes. Sarah Carter. Okay, so do not fear anything, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Be assured, I will help you. I will certainly take hold with my righteous right hand, a hand of justice, power, of victory, of salvation. And this is the amplified version. That's why it was so long. So anyway, back to this, because we're gonna go over. So that's how God balances judgment and mercy, from our opinion. And again, you got to take all this stuff with a grain of salt, because we're just learning this, and we are giving our own takeaways and interpretation. So certainly, if there's something that you get out of this verse and you want to share, you can do that. And we have a beautiful, juicy question from Rose that we're gonna address after we go over this.